after being reborn, I deliberately arrived late to delay getting the marriage certificate with Axel Gu. In my previous life, after Axel Gu found out I was pregnant, he disappeared for 20 years with Nova Bai. Later, when I was about to die, he came back, looking at Nova Bai's funeral portrait. He said to me, "If I had delayed getting the marriage certificate with you for just a little while back then, would the outcome have been different?" 1. Realizing I had been reborn. Axel Gu was standing at the dormitory door, waiting for me to go get our marriage certificate together. I lied and said I needed to deliver something to a colleague, sending him ahead to wait for me at the marriage registration office. After parting ways with Axel Gu, I went up the mountain. Lying on Aunt Wang's rocking chair, I watched the sea of clouds in front of the house and basked in the sun. Aunt Wang handed me a roasted sweet potato and asked curiously, "Aren't you supposed to get your marriage certificate with Engineer Gu today? What brings you here?" I took a bite of the warm, roasted sweet potato. I smiled and said to her, "Auntie, I had a nightmare, and after waking up, I felt uneasy." Aunt Wang comforted me, saying, "That was just a dream. What matters is the life you're living. Once you marry Engineer Gu, you'll have many good days ahead. What is there to fear from a nightmare?" I froze for a moment, then smiled and nodded. "Auntie is right. I'll leave after staying here for a while. Marry Axel Gu, never in this lifetime." 2. In my previous life, after Axel Gu and I got our marriage certificate, we had just walked out of the marriage registration hall. He bumped into a girl head-on. The girl is named Nova Bai and lives in the village where we work. On our way back, Axel Gu remained silent the entire time. I thought it was because he was a married man and had become more cautious about avoiding unnecessary interactions with female colleagues. Little did I know, I would only find out when I was on the verge of death. It turned out that with that collision, Axel Gu fell in love with Nova Bai at first sight. He wasn't avoiding suspicion, he was regretting why he couldn't have registered our marriage one day later. After that day, Axel Gu became much colder towards me. He always stares blankly in the direction of the village. I asked him why, but he avoided answering. After asking many times and being busy with work, I stopped asking. I just wait for him to figure it out and be willing to communicate with me on his own. After the village project ended, Axel Gu and I were assigned to different project teams. We had to live apart. I thought it was only temporary, but every subsequent assignment, he was always miles away from me. I mentioned it to Axel Gu, and he just said indifferently, "Obey the organization's arrangements," until one day, I returned to Beijing to report on my duties. It was only then, hearing my colleagues' conversations, that I realized, except for the first separate assignment, every time after that, it was Axel Gu who took the initiative to apply to his superiors. I had a big argument with Axel Gu. Afterward, he hugged me and apologized, but he never explained the reason. At daybreak, Axel Gu left. I think my marriage to him is over. Unexpectedly, I got pregnant. After learning I was pregnant, Axel Gu changed his previous cold demeanor. He started to take thoughtful care of my life. He would clumsily learn to cook for me. He would press his ear to my belly, listening to the baby blow bubbles. He would accompany me on walks every evening. Then one day, Axel Gu disappeared. I asked many people and searched for him for a long time. No one knew where he had actually gone. And no one could tell me whether he was dead or alive. I started going to prenatal checkups alone, giving birth alone, taking the child to the hospital alone, and raising the child alone. He handled the funerals of both sets of parents by himself. I thought he was dead, but when I was on the verge of death, he suddenly appeared before me. It was only then that I learned he had been with Nova Bai for the past 20 years. They adopted a son and gave him all their love. It was just that Nova Bai, burdened by sorrow, passed away before him. Her regret before she left was not being able to be his wife in her lifetime. Axel Gu said he was sorry for what he did to me, and yet he resented me. I think it's so unreasonable. If you don't love me, why didn't you tell me earlier? He could have just divorced me and given Nova Bai a home, instead of abandoning his wife and children and neglecting his parents. What right does he have to resent me? The son I raised with my own hands said that he envies Axel Gu and Nova Bai's adopted son, who was raised with love. He blames me for bringing him into this world without his permission. It was only then that I realized he had already been in contact with his father without my knowledge, and had been keeping it from me all along. 3. I stayed at Aunt Wang's house for an hour. After bidding farewell to Aunt Wang, I headed straight to the marriage registration office. When I arrived at the marriage registration office, I happened to see Axel Gu helping Nova Bai up. I saw Axel Gu staring at Nova Bai, unwilling to look away for a long time. The originally somewhat angry face was now adorned with astonishment. In my previous life, I was busy helping Nova Bai up and chatting with her. I didn't notice Axel Gu's unusual behavior. Now, looking at it from a bystander's perspective, everything was so obvious. Axel, I'm here. Have you been waiting long, seeing me appear? Axel Gu froze for a moment before quickly becoming flustered. Ah, well, man, you're here. I noticed Nova Bai looking at me, and unlike in my previous life, her expression was complex, with jealousy in her eyes. By the time I looked again, she had returned to normal. As if everything had been my imagination. I'm very curious, as we haven't even gotten our marriage certificate this lifetime. Axel Gu met Nova Bai earlier. How would he choose? Would he break up with me and choose Nova Bai? Or would he continue as in our previous life, marrying me but living happily ever after with Nova Bai? It's getting late. Let's go in and get our marriage certificate, I said, feigning urgency. Axel Gu's face turned pale. Ouch, my foot hurts. Nova Bai cried out in pain at just the right moment, breaking the momentary silence. In her previous life, Nova Bai wasn't injured. How did she get injured in this life? And at such a coincidental time, could she have also been reborn? I scrutinized Nova Bai, but found nothing. Axel Gu took Nova Bai to the infirmary. The doctor said there were no other injuries except for a wound that would heal in a little while. Nova Bai blushed. Axel Gu, however, looked happy. On the way back, they passed the marriage registration office. Axel Gu's face was conflicted. Man, they're off work. How about we come back tomorrow? I said indifferently. We'll see. Getting married also requires choosing a good day. It's just that there will never be a good day for getting married in this lifetime. A smile played on my lips. Axel Gu sighed and said, all right, I'll talk to Aunt Wang when we get back. For Axel Gu and I came here by bicycle. On the way back, Nova Bai didn't hesitate to get on Axel Gu's bike. Axel Gu looked at me, feeling a bit awkward, but he didn't refuse. I pretended not to see and rode my bike away first. A cool breeze blew by, carrying the voices of Nova Bai and Axel Gu. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but I could hear the happiness in their tone, and Axel Gu's deliberately restrained laughter. How long has it been since I last saw Axel Gu smile? In my previous life, it seemed that after meeting Nova Bai, Axel Gu never smiled at me again. But now, none of that matters to me anymore. As we entered the village, the villagers saw Nova Bai sitting in Axel Gu's car. One arm was wrapped around Axel Gu's waist. When they looked at me, they either winked or coughed and shook their heads. I knew what they were trying to say, but I still smiled and returned to my dorm. 5. Axel Gu had already rented a wedding apartment in advance for their marriage. Most of the things have been moved over. I passed by the wedding house, stopped the car, and lingered for a moment. The wedding house has 2 bedrooms on either side, a central hall in the middle, and a small courtyard. In my previous life, after returning from the marriage registry, I saw the big red double happiness characters pasted all over the house and felt my heart filled with sweetness. No one knew that the day before the wedding registration, the groom was happily busy decorating the wedding room, but the fire went out on the wedding night. That night, like countless lonely nights to come, we lay quietly in bed, doing nothing, yet neither of us could fall asleep for a long time. 6. Before Axel Gu returned, I pushed my bicycle back to the dorm. As soon as I got to the dorm, I took out the transfer letter to Beijing from my drawer. It was called a transfer, but in reality, a promotion and raise awaited me back there. In my previous life, I gave up this opportunity because I was going to marry Axel Gu. 3 months later, we were assigned to different locations. After that, Axel Gu intentionally distanced himself from me. Later, I became pregnant, and Axel Gu disappeared. I had to not only raise the child alone but also take care of both sets of parents. Feeling inadequate at work, I was gradually transferred from key departments to peripheral ones. I never got a promotion or a raise in my entire life. My elementary school son always looked at me with disdain whenever he saw my mediocre and busy self. He said, "Other kids' moms are all so pretty. Why can't you be like others, and dress yourself up nicely?" What, Nova Bai, the more I recall, the more alarmed I become. It turns out that back then, my son had already been in contact with his missing father, yet he kept it a secret from me for his entire life. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. 7. At dinner, Axel Gu didn't come to find me as he usually did. I took my lunchbox to the cafeteria to get food myself. In the cafeteria, I saw Axel Gu and Nova Bai sitting across from each other. They served each other food. I don't know what Axel Gu said, but Nova Bai covered her mouth and laughed. When Axel Gu saw me, he was momentarily stunned and quickly stood up. Man, you're here. Well, Nova just got home, and there was no food at the house, so I brought her here to grab something to eat. I was actually planning to bring you something later, but I didn't expect you to come so early. Is it early? There aren't many people eating in the cafeteria anymore. There are even fewer dishes left. I couldn't help but think of my previous life, after we got our marriage certificate. Axel Gu suggested going to the cafeteria to get some food, but I waited a long time for him to come back. When he returned, his hands were empty. He just said to me indifferently, "The cafeteria ran out of food, just bear with it for one night." That night, if there was any sound, it would have been the rumbling of my hungry stomach. So, at this time in my previous life, Axel Gu had already started taking care of Nova Bai. I didn't say anything and walked past him. I packed up the remaining food and brought it back to the dorm. Just as I was halfway through my meal, there was a knock on the dorm door. It's Axel Gu and Nova Bai. Axel Gu looked at me with a complicated expression, then cleared his throat lightly. Man, I'd like to discuss something with you." I looked at him without speaking. Axel Gu glanced at Nova Bai, who was standing beside him, being cautious. His eyes were full of tenderness, and when he spoke again, his tone carried more determination. Man, well, Nova just came back from the city. You know, she's the only one in her family, and the house hasn't been lived in for a long time. It needs cleaning. Since we haven't gotten our marriage certificate yet, I was thinking, maybe we could temporarily lend our wedding room to Nova for a few days. I glanced at Nova Bai. Nova Bai, like a startled rabbit, shrank back and hid behind Axel Gu. In both past and present lives, I saw two completely different versions of Nova Bai. If someone told me Nova Bai hadn't been reborn, I wouldn't believe it, but I didn't have time to play along with her. I don't want this man anymore. No matter how much Nova Bai does, it's all superfluous to me. Alright, it's your house. You call the shots. Axel Gu didn't expect me to agree so readily. The words he had prepared were suddenly stuck in his throat, neither coming up nor going down. But, I don't like others touching my things. I'll go collect my belongings later. Axel Gu was taken aback for a moment and quickly said, no need, I'll move your things to another room." So he not only wanted Nova Bai to move into our marital home, she even wanted her to sleep in our marital bed. How ridiculous. I saw Nova Bai also smiling with a smirk. 8. After dinner, I took a flashlight and went to the bridal room to pack things. When I arrived, Axel Gu was busy helping Nova Bai make the bed. They were still using the new bed sheets I had carefully chosen for the wedding night. Axel Gu seemed a bit surprised to see me. Man, what brings you here? I've already put all your things in my room." "Oh," I responded and turned to the next room to get something. Axel Gu followed me, his expression complex, with emotions in his eyes that I couldn't understand. Man, at that moment, Nova Bai ran out of the room. "Axel, isn't that bedsheet the one you and Leah are going to use for your wedding? Wouldn't it be inappropriate to let me sleep on it? It's really okay. I can just sleep on the dirty clothes." Nova Bai's voice grew softer as she spoke. I saw a look of pity in Axel Gu's eyes as he glanced at her. He turned to me. Man, look, all the bedsheets at home are new. But this one, how could I miss the fleeting look of triumph in Nova Bai's eyes? She just doesn't know yet that I've had no intention of keeping a scumbag like Axel GU since the moment I was reborn. This sheet was bought with your money, so you decide, I said indifferently. Thank you, Leah and Axel, you're so good to me, wow. I never thought I'd one day get to live in Axel's marital home and sleep in Axel's marital bed. No matter how I heard it, something felt off, and Axel GU sensed it too, but he looked at me without speaking, as if testing my limits. After Novabai spoke, she seemed to realize something, covered her mouth, and feigned an expression of having done something wrong. I'm sorry, Leah, I'm sorry, actually, you mustn't misunderstand, Axel and I are really nothing. I think I'll just sleep in dirty clothes. With that, she reached for the dirty clothes in the package. Axel GU quickly stopped her. I reassured Novabai, it's fine, just sleep peacefully, it's not a big deal. Axel GU didn't notice anything unusual from my expression and stood aside, lost in thought. I was busy packing and didn't have time to deal with him. Novabai deliberately tried to cover up, making things worse. She just wanted to provoke me, to highlight her vulnerability in front of Axel GU, to make Axel GU despise me. But having lived a new life, why would I care? The only thing she should be grateful for is that in her previous life, she didn't dance in front of me. This lifetime's dancing isn't enough yet. I leaned close to Novabai and whispered in her ear, Nova, you're overthinking it. Why would I mind? Your Axel is just looking out for you. What's hard to understand about that? I wouldn't even object if he married you, though I wonder if he actually would. I looked at Novabai and smiled, then winked at her. Novabai's expression turned very unpleasant upon hearing this. She couldn't understand why I was different from the foolish and easily bullied Leah who of the previous life, but she soon realized something, and when she looked at me again, her face was full of smugness. 9. I packed up my belongings, carrying my luggage, ready to leave. Axel GU suddenly called out to me from behind. He stepped forward, wanting to take the luggage off my back. I refused. Joke, Novabai has been reborn. In her previous life, she was the other woman her whole life. This time, I'm here to get promoted. She already treats that trash Axel GU as her personal property, and I don't want to get myself into trouble. Axel GU saw me avoiding him, and his eyes were full of hurt when he looked at me. Man, are you angry? I can explain it to you. How strange. In my previous life, he would rather waste my entire life than open his mouth. But in this life, he's finally speaking up, but I already knew what he was going to say. It's nothing more than using the guise of care to engage in emotional detachment. Explain. That's redundant. Besides, Novabai wouldn't agree. As expected, hearing Novabai's scream, Axel GU no longer cared about seeing me off, turned around, and ran back into the house. I sneered, adjusted the pack on my back, and walked away. 10. In my previous life, I was married to Axel GU for 21 years, and my life ended at the age of 45. That age is considered an untimely death. When I gave birth to that ungrateful child, I suffered a difficult labor with heavy bleeding. My physical foundation was ruined at that time. Later, her body hadn't fully recovered, and she had to care for her son alone. She also had to deal with Axel GU's unreasonable parents. And she had to work while tirelessly searching for Axel GU. Her health deteriorated day by day. Raising my son to the age of 20 was already the result of my utmost efforts, since Axel GU disappeared. I haven't had a single good night's sleep. Now that I've been given a second chance at life, I didn't marry Axel GU, I didn't exhaust my life from overwork. The body is healthy. I can finally sleep soundly and peacefully. I had a dreamless night and slept well for the first time in 2 lifetimes. 11. The next day, I asked my supervisor for leave and informed them that I had agreed to be transferred back to Beijing. The leader looked puzzled. Didn't you say you didn't want to live apart from Engineer GU after marrying him? I shook my head. I won't marry him. For me, the most important thing right now is my career. The leader looked at me and smiled with relief. In my previous life, the leader had also advised me. He said, with your abilities, you can achieve greater development. I was blinded and gave up such a great opportunity for a scumbag. I asked my supervisor to help cover up my departure. I also discussed the timing of my departure with my supervisor. After leaving the leader's office, I went straight to the train station. Train tickets were hard to come by during this period, requiring long hours of waiting in line. As I rode my bike past the wedding room, through the fence, I saw Axel Gu and Nova Bai squatting together in the yard brushing their teeth. Axel Gu skillfully and naturally took the towel from the clothesline and personally helped Nova Bai wipe her hands. Nova Bai looked at him with a deeply affectionate expression. It seems that after one night, there has been a qualitative leap in their relationship. They saw me riding my bike past the door. Axel Gu's face turned pale, and he quickly distanced himself from Nova Bai. I withdrew my gaze. Completely ignoring one person's guilty conscience and the other's hurt expression, I made my way to the train station based on memory. After paying to store the bicycle, I followed the crowd into the ticket hall. During this period, people traveling long distances were all carrying large and small bags, from small items like needles and thread to large ones like quilts and baskets. They brought everything they could onto the train. Looking at the crowded crowd, I finally decided to bring as little as possible. Especially for bulky items that take up space, I sold what I could and gave away what couldn't be sold. I queued for a long time, and between a standing ticket and a sleeper ticket, I still chose the sleeper. I suffered my whole last life, so in this life, I just want to be good to myself. 12. By the time I left the train station, it was already afternoon. After a lifetime, I had no experience and forgot to bring food while queuing. I missed lunch because I was buying train tickets. And now I'm so hungry my stomach is rumbling. I asked for directions all the way and found the state-run restaurant that Axel Gu and I had visited in a previous life. Back then, he and I had a blind date here, arranged by a colleague. Axel Gu was handsome, with fair skin, the clean type I liked, and like me, he is in a technical profession. Moreover, both of our families are in Beijing. At the time, I thought it would be convenient for our families to interact in the future. And he was also very satisfied with my appearance. We decided to give it a try. During our relationship, he wasn't particularly good to me, but he wasn't bad either. In daily life, he took care of me in every way. At work, he would also help me solve any difficulties I encountered. I didn't have many heart-fluttering moments of love with him. It was more about compatibility. I thought I would live a peaceful and tranquil life with him. I never expected him to drop a bombshell on me so suddenly. Axel Gu proposed to me after we had been together for 2 months. He seemed happy when he decided to marry me at that time, but in the end, childhood sweethearts couldn't compete with a fated encounter. Nova Bai's appearance made him feel a flutter in his heart. His emotions drifted away. Love, without knowing its origin, runs deep, but he shouldn't have, above all else, he shouldn't have selfishly abandoned everything for love, wasting my entire life. 12. After parking my bicycle, I entered the state-run restaurant. There weren't many people at this time. Therefore, I immediately spotted Axel Gu and Nova Bai sitting in the corner. Nova Bai saw me first. She stood up and waved to me enthusiastically. Leah, are you going to eat? It just so happens that Axel and I are together. Why don't you join us? Don't be shy. It's just a matter of adding another pair of chopsticks. Truly worthy of being a top-tier green tea bitch who ran off with someone else's husband for over 20 years, with just 2 sentences, she positioned herself as the host. That's so embarrassing. I hope I'm not interrupting your date. I smiled and glanced at Axel Gu. Axel Gu clearly panicked. He hurriedly stood up to help me move the chair. Leah, don't misunderstand. My relationship with Axel isn't what you think. Axel just thinks I'm too thin and wants to help me gain some weight. Alright, she got to show off again. I ignored Axel Gu's actions and walked over to sit beside Nova Bai. Axel Gu touched his nose and sat down awkwardly. I was shocked to see the table full of lavish dishes. Wow. This meal must cost Axel Gu at least half a month's salary. He's really generous with Nova Bai. Nova Bai put a piece of braised pork on my plate. Leah, try the braised pork here. Axel said the braised pork here is the best, and he insisted on ordering it for me. He also said he'd pack another portion for me when we leave. Here, try this. And the fish, you should try the fish too. I've never had such delicious fish. Axel said he can cook too, and when we go back, he'll make it for me often. Axel GU can cook. When I was pregnant in my previous life, he was a mess in the kitchen, constantly dropping pots or breaking bowls. In the end, I had to push him out of the kitchen and cook myself. Love can indeed be feigned. I took the braised pork and savored it carefully. It was truly delicious. Things from this era are all genuine and substantial. This pork is genuinely fragrant, and this river fish, it doesn't have any of that later engine oil taste at all. It's truly fresh and tender. I was savoring it carefully, completely oblivious to what Novabai had said. Novabai suddenly let out a scream, startling me so much that I almost dropped my chopsticks. Sorry, Leah, I just got scared by a fish bone. Where was I just now? Oh right, Leah, have you ever had a dish cooked by Axel? If you haven't, you can come over tonight. Axel promised to cook for me. Axel, isn't that right? Scared by a fish bone, it really scared me. Novabai clearly saw that I didn't care and couldn't stand it anymore. He deliberately pretended to be scared by a fish bone to remind me. Keep showing off. Once I leave, let's see who you'll show off to then. Sister Nova, you're so lucky. Axel and I have known each other for so long. And I never knew he could cook. You two just met 2 days ago, and he's already promised to cook for you. Thanks to you, I'll have a delicious meal tonight. The original intention was to drive me mad with jealousy. I didn't expect that I don't care at all. Novabai was stunned. Axel Gooseface turned pale and then flushed during this process. I continued eating, completely indifferent to their reactions. When my scallion tofu was served, I pushed it in front of Novabai and Axel GU, inviting them to eat with me. The dinner table became much quieter after that. I could finally eat in peace. 13. Leaving the state-run restaurant. I said goodbye to Novabai and Axel GU and cycled away. I need to go to the post office to make a phone call to my parents. In my previous life, after Axel GU went missing, I was left alone to raise our child, take care of Axel Gu's parents, and go to work every day. I was as busy as a spinning top. For some reason, even though my family background is no worse than theirs, Axel Gu's parents just looked down on me. Not only did they not help me take care of the child, but they also found ways to torment me. Once I showed even the slightest bit of unkindness toward them, they would go to my workplace and cause a scene. At that time, it wasn't easy to have a formal job, especially since I had to support my son, so I endured it. After my parents heard about my situation, they helped me out a lot while taking care of their grandchildren. They thought about finding someone to marry me off to, but when Gu's parents found out, they rushed to my parents and caused a big scene. They said our family was trying to drive the two of them to their deaths. Not only that, but every time a man was willing to meet with me, my mother-in-law would bring my son along and follow behind. Then she would have my son run up to me crying and making a scene. Gradually, no one was willing to meet with me anymore. I gave up the thought of remarrying and focused wholeheartedly on raising my son. During this time, because of Gu's parents, my own parents endured a lot of grievances, but more than that, they were worried about me. Even when they passed away, what they were most concerned about was still me. The phone was quickly answered. Hearing my parents' voices again after what felt like a lifetime, I cried. They could hear the sob in my voice. My parents were very worried. They thought Axel GU was bullying me. They were so angry that they wanted to come and confront Axel GU. I calmed them down and told my parents about what had been happening recently, as well as my decision. On the phone, my parents remained silent for a long time. Finally, they just said that if it was the result of my careful consideration, they would respect my decision. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. I told them about my transfer back to Beijing. The train ticket for departure was in 3 days. Mom and Dad said they will definitely make lots and lots of my favorite dishes and wait for me at home. 15. Returned to the dorm and opened the door. Found Axel GU sitting at my desk, flipping through study materials. I almost forgot, he also has a key to my dorm room. Seeing the drawer containing the transfer report was locked, I breathed a sigh of relief. With the current unclear relationship with Axel GU, I didn't want any more unexpected incidents before leaving. Axel GU saw that I had returned and quickly stood up to pour me a glass of water. He had something to say. but he kept hesitating and didn't speak up. I sat on the bed, slowly sipping my tea, waiting for him to speak. Finally, he couldn't hold back anymore. He turned to face me. Man, it's not what you think between Nova and me. I swallowed the tea in my mouth and said indifferently, "What do you think I'm thinking?" Axel Gu choked. If I were still Leah Hu from my previous life, I would believe him whether he explained or not. But after all, I am someone who has lived a lifetime and seen and experienced my own tragic life. Even if Axel Gu explained it 1,000 times, to me, it's all nonsense. He said it at my bedside before I died in my previous life. He fell in love with Nova by at first sight. It was true love. It's not comparable to the feelings he had for me. I feel more like the third wheel in his relationship with Nova Bai. It's a flaw, a thorn in the flesh. Man, whether you believe it or not. I just think that since Nova Bai's parents have passed away, she's all alone and it's not easy for her. That's why I want to take care of her a little more. When Axel Gu explained it to me, his eyes were evasive. He doesn't even dare to look me in the eyes. How can I trust him? But I still said it. Fine. I believe you. Can you leave now? I've had a long day and want to rest. Oh, and please leave the key to my dorm room. Axel Gu's face instantly stiffened. Obviously, he could tell I didn't believe him. 16. After Axel Gu left, I wiped the chair he had been sitting on. Dirty. It was truly dirty. I started packing my things. In the past 6 months working here, I haven't accumulated much, just some clothes, bedding, and daily necessities. What really needs to be sorted out are the wedding items I bought with Axel Gu. It seems I need to find some time to settle accounts with Axel Gu before leaving. At that moment, a knock sounded at the door. It was Axel Gu. He was holding a box of pastries in his hand, happily handed it to me. Here, man, open it and take a look. I took the pastry box and opened it. Inside were money and coupons. Axel Gu said with a smile, "I've been ready for a long time. After we get married, I'll let you manage all my money. You just need to give me living expenses on time every month." Looking at Axel Gu in front of me, I suddenly felt a sense of unfamiliarity in my previous life, let alone handing over his salary. After we got our marriage certificate, I never saw a single penny from him. When I had a massive hemorrhage during childbirth, his parents didn't contribute a single cent and even shouted, "Let her die. It's a waste of money to keep her alive." It was my parents, brother, and sister-in-law who paid the doctor to save me, and that's how I survived. Later, the money for his parents' medical expenses and funeral costs were all paid by me during the 20 years of Axel Gu's disappearance. He secretly contacted his son. He must have been in touch with his parents as well. I don't know if he gave them money or not. I only know that before Gu's mother passed away, she called my son into her room. When my son came out again, although he tried hard to appear sad, I could still see a hint of secret delight in his eyes. After the funeral, I searched her room but couldn't find anything of value. Later, I fell ill and had no money for treatment, so I could only endure it. This delay continued until the final rally before death. Thinking back to my previous life, Axel Gu might have known I needed money for my illness. I thought my son might be hiding the money his grandmother gave him, yet he was unwilling to use it for my treatment. I just felt a dull ache in my heart. Axel Gu saw me suddenly trembling all over. He hurried forward, wanting to support me. I pushed him away abruptly. I leaned against the wall and took a while to recover. When I looked at Axel Gu again, there was only coldness in my eyes. Axel Gu's heart sank. I looked at the money in the metal box. Since Axel Gu brought the money, I naturally have no reason to suffer a loss. The debts from the previous life are too tangled to settle, but in this life, they must be settled. I took out half of the money for the wedding expenses from the box. I handed the remaining money and the box to Axel Gu. Axel Gu was puzzled by my actions but didn't ask anything. Even the most oblivious person could sense the change in me. He didn't understand what had happened in those few short minutes. He only felt that something seemed to be spiraling out of control. After confirming that I was physically unharmed, he left, looking back at me every few steps. 17. That night, I slept very restlessly. I saw my previous life, Mr. and Mrs. GU told Axel GU about my postpartum hemorrhage during childbirth. Axel GU just gave a faint "hum" over the phone. I also saw that when my son was still in swaddling clothes, Mr. and Mrs. GU kept it from me and secretly took our son to see Axel GU. Axel GU knew I had been looking for him, but he conspired with everyone to keep it from me. No wonder everyone who knows him refused to talk to me about him. I also dreamed of colleagues I had worked with for many years in my previous life. They praised the love between Axel GU and Nova Bai. As for me, his wife, I am merely the wrong red thread that the matchmaker accidentally pulled while drunk, as they say. How laughable. The dream ended, and tears soaked the pillow, but I'm still alive, healthy and alive, and there are still opportunities in life, aren't there? 18. For the next 2 days, I was busy with the handover of work. I made plans with Nova Bai to go eat the dishes cooked by Axel GU, because the money box that night was settled without a word. I thought that was the end of it, but that evening, Nova Bai came looking for me. She invited me over for a meal. I couldn't refuse their warm invitation, so I agreed. When it was time for the meal, I arrived at their door with gifts in hand. Through the fence of the courtyard, I saw Nova Bai and Axel GU embracing each other. Axel GU's hand was placed on the softest part of Nova Bai's body, kneading it. When he saw me, his face was paler than ever before. Nova Bai also looked terrified, busy straightening the almost completely unbuttoned buttons. Without saying a word, I turned and left. I had the big meal Nova Bai treated me to tonight, so there's no need to send a gift. Not long after I left, Axel GU came chasing after me. He grabbed me and anxiously tried to explain. Man, listen to me. Nova and I aren't what you think we are. What? Is it the two of you embracing with disheveled clothes? Or is it your hand placed where it shouldn't be? These past couple of days, even though I've been busy with the handover at work, I haven't missed out on hearing Aunt Wang's gossip. Aunt Wang despises mistresses the most, especially someone like Nova Bai, who not only knowingly becomes a mistress but also repeatedly provokes the rightful partner right in front of them. She always reports the disgusting things about Axel GU and Nova Bai in real time. She said, someone in the village saw Nova Bai intentionally rubbing her body against Axel GU. And Axel GU did not avoid it. Someone saw Nova Bai and Axel GU eating from the same bowl of rice. Someone saw Nova Bai and Axel GU holding hands in a secluded place. At this moment, the Axel GU in front of me looks somewhat disheveled. I can't understand why. After all he and Nova Bai have done together, he still comes to me and asks me not to misunderstand. Do you still want me to stay at home and take care of his parents for him, just like in the previous life? While he and Nova Bai are affectionate outside, before Nova Bai appeared, I was the only one who could get close to you. Within just an hour of Nova Bai's appearance, you carried her to the hospital. You've known her for less than 3 hours, and you already let her sit on your bike and hold your waist. You've known her for only 5 hours. And you abandoned me to take her to the cafeteria for a meal. You've known her for just 7 hours. And you allowed her to stay in our wedding room, sleep in our wedding bed, and use the bedding and sheets I prepared for our marriage. You've known her for only a day, and you're willing to spend half a month's salary to treat her to a lavish meal. You've only known her for a day, yet you're willing to personally cook soup for her. You don't avoid her touch. You share a meal from the same bowl, and you hold hands with her. Now you embrace her, caress her. Can you still stand before me and solemnly claim that your relationship is completely innocent? Do you think I would believe that? Perhaps my words were becoming increasingly shocking, causing Axel GU's body to tremble uncontrollably. He moved his lips hesitantly, but couldn't utter a single word. Let me guess why you're so afraid of my misunderstanding, why you felt the need to explain yourself to me, and even tried to buy my trust with money. On the day we were supposed to get our marriage certificate, you fell in love with Nova Bai at first sight. Nova Bai also had feelings for you, so she faked an injury to stop us from getting the certificate. And at that time, because you had developed feelings for Nova Bai, you actually didn't want to continue getting the marriage certificate with me. But these past few days, you might have figured it out. You love Nova Bai and want to spend romantic moments with her. I looked into Axel GU's eyes and said word by word, but at the same time, You need a virtuous wife to help take care of your parents. It would be even better if this virtuous wife could help you provide for your parents until their old age and handle their funeral arrangements. Am I right?" Hearing the last part, Axel Gu suddenly looked up at me, his eyes filled with disbelief. Seeing his shocked expression, I was actually sad that such a calculating person wasted a lifetime. Sad that what I thought was a sweet moment after marriage was just a joke. I can no longer deceive myself. Similarly, I wouldn't allow Axel Gu to continue deceiving me. 19. That evening, I returned to my dorm to pack my bags for my departure, but Nova Bai appeared at that moment. She glared at me with a fierce expression. "Leah Hu, so you're back too?" Seeing my calm expression, she let out a light scoff. When she looked at me again, her eyes were full of contempt and mockery. "In your previous life, even if you occupied the position of Axel's wife, what did it matter? You still ended up being a lifelong servant to his parents. The son I worked so hard to raise, without you knowing, calls me mom. Haha, isn't that hilarious? Your husband is mine, and your son is mine too, and in this lifetime, even though you've been reborn as well, you can't change the fact that brother Axel loves me. In this life, I will be brother Axel's wife, and it can only be me." Although I was utterly disappointed with my son from my previous life, hearing him secretly call Nova by mom still made my heart ache a little. Fortunately, in this life, whether he allows it or not, I won't bring him into this world. Nova Bai was like a victorious rooster, chattering incessantly in front of me, but when she saw me looking at her, her eyes held pity, sympathy, and compassion. Everything but anger. She fled in panic. To me, she was just another pitiful soul. No different from myself. In this life, without me behind the scenes supporting her and Axel Gu, could they still live a happy life like they did in the last one? 20. At 10 past midnight, unable to sleep, I left my dorm to look at the moon, but I was startled by a dark figure sitting by the door. By the light coming from inside the house, I could see it was Axel Gu. He reeked heavily of alcohol. I don't know how long he had been sitting here. I realized that even though I had been given a second chance at life, I still couldn't understand him. I took a flashlight and went to find Nova Bai. When Nova Bai heard that I had come to ask her to take Axel Gu home, she was clearly taken aback, but without saying a word, she followed me back to the dormitory. Axel Gu had fallen asleep, and Nova Bai struggled to pull her away. I didn't help. The man she fell in love with, let her deal with the consequences herself. The next day, when I was carrying my luggage and about to leave, Aunt Wang came looking for me. She dragged me along to watch the show. I followed her all the way to the wedding room that once belonged to me and Axel Gu. I saw Axel Gu looking furious as he stared at Nova Bai, who was sitting on the floor with disheveled clothes. It turned out that last night, after Nova Bai had taken Axel Gu back, she thought about how Axel Gu had chased after me and returned looking utterly dejected. And the way he fell asleep in front of my dorm room after getting drunk, he even called out my name in his dreams. She couldn't sit still any longer. She took advantage of Axel Gu being drunk, and even though he mistook her for me, she still slept with him. After hearing the general story from the villagers, I felt nothing but disgust. I picked up my luggage and turned to leave, but Axel Gu grabbed my arm to stop me. Man, let me explain. This scumbag just won't quit." I took a deep breath, looking at him without a trace of emotion in my eyes. "Axel Gu, I thought I made myself very clear to you yesterday." Axel Gu wanted to see if there was still a trace of affection for him in my eyes. To his disappointment, my eyes held only the indifference of a stranger toward him, because I didn't care. I didn't get angry, because I didn't get angry. Nothing mattered. He finally realized that I truly didn't care about him anymore. Axel Gu weakly let go of my hand. His voice was muffled, and he said softly from behind me, "I'm sorry." What is he apologizing for? Is it for this lifetime, or the previous one? 21. I left Yuanshan village. I returned to Jing City. Seeing my healthy and happy parents again, I burst into tears. Every day after my rebirth, although I appeared relaxed, there was always a heavy burden weighing on my heart. That was my entire life. A life so heavy it suffocates. How could I possibly let it go so easily? Axel GU and Nova Bai deserve to be hacked to pieces, but I have my parents, and I have my brother and sister-in-law. I can't ruin my chance at a fresh start for the sake of two worthless people. Only now, seeing my parents still healthy and not yet burdened by me, do I feel the relief of having a heavy mountain lifted off my shoulders. I spent a few days with my parents, enjoying the harmony of loving parents and filial children. I threw myself back into work. Without the burden of my son and my parents-in-law, I performed exceptionally well at work. It wasn't long before I got a promotion and a raise. He was also appointed as a professor at the university, fulfilling my long-held dream of becoming a teacher. 22. The next time I heard news of Axel GU was a year later. Nova Bai ultimately fulfilled her lifelong wish from her previous life. She married Axel GU and became his lawful wife. Not long after the wedding, Axel GU took her back to the capital city. Mr. and Mrs. GU were by no means easy to deal with. In my previous life, I had a good family background and a good job, yet they still disliked me, so they looked down even more on Nova Bai, who didn't have a job, so he used all his tricks to torment Nova Bai. The GU household was in constant chaos all day long. Axel GU wanted to take Nova Bai away, but Mr. and Mrs. GU disagreed and made a huge fuss, threatening to die if they didn't get their way. They believe that Nova Bai has no job and that marrying their son is marrying above her station. The thought of Nova Bai ruins the good thing I have going with their son. They are seething with hatred. No matter what, they do not agree to let Axel GU take Nova Bai away. They just want to keep Nova Bai by their side, to serve them like a beast of burden. Childhood sweethearts can't compare to a sudden new love. Romantic moments under the moonlight can't compare to the daily grind of life. After a while, when Axel GU looks at Nova Bai again, she's nothing special. Without Axel GU's love, Nova Bai is no different from a shrew in the market. Not long after, Axel GU applied for a transfer, and this time he didn't take Nova Bai with him. Later, it was heard that Nova Bai fought back. She and GU's parents tormented each other, and they all lived miserable lives. Later, I heard that Axel GU had cheated. In a fit of anger, Nova Bai went to his workplace and reported Axel GU. She accused Axel GU of raping her while she was drunk in Yuanshan village. That was something I hadn't expected. Sure enough, those who can be the mistress of a scumbag for a lifetime are no pushovers. What surprised me was Axel GU, in his previous life, because of a single regret from Nova Bai. He resented me. Looking at Nova Bai's funeral portrait, he was overwhelmed with grief. Seeing me leave, he was in pain and remorse. In this lifetime, I never saw how devoted he was to Nova Bai. I overestimated him after all, a person rotten to the core, whose essence is self-love. How could they ever truly repent? It's just the unwillingness to accept loss and unfulfilled desires. Fortunately, in this life, I escaped that cage. The future of life is full of sunshine.